This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!
Hey, let's talk about you, the ID10T community events at ID10T.com, like Russ Stevens, a.k.a.
Cat Bus Russ,
who has started a podcast called 90 for Chill, which Russ says is dedicated to movies with a runtime between 74 and 99 minutes, the time frame that I feel is ideal. Russ, I could not agree with you more. That is a fantastic idea. Russ goes on to say there are times you need a cinematic fix but don't have time for the latest Scorsese masterpiece or offering from a comic book universe. There's also times when you need a conclusion to prevent a binge costing you a whole night. My guest and I try to follow these guidelines as we chat up features that are definitely worth your time and are beyond easy to make time for. 90 for Chill, the podcast, can be found on all major podcast platforms at 90forchill.com, and that's spelling out 90, Ninety, 4 FOR, chill. So there you go. Thank you so much for sharing, Russ. Really great idea for a podcast. Events at ID10T.com for everyone else.
Hi, John. My name is Russ. Thanks for being here. And I would like to know, when do you think the movie roles really started hitting for you? Because I think it took a good 10 years before they actually wrote roles for a professional wrestler to go and deliver.
That is the kindest thing anybody's ever said. Because you just put the blame on everybody else. What I heard was, man, you sucked for about 10 years. By the way, the reason I heard that is because that's how I feel about the first 10 years of my existence on film. I'll tell you when the switch hit. When I put as much passion into that as I put into wrestling. And if I can do wrestling and have my passion, my heart there, yes, I had a life outside the arena, but when I walk in the arena, man, it is go time. I am in clothes like this for 1 second. I change into the Superman outfit at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I'm me. And you want me to sign stuff, they want me to meet people, we want to talk about creative, I need to do business, like I am locked in. And I forget all that stuff when I go out in front of you guys because I just want to be present. I am locked in. So when I started to put that amount of effort and that amount of passion into opportunities that were given to me, that's when I felt I started to learn. I opened myself up to be better, surround myself with better people. I honestly feel now is very much like 2005, 6, 7 in wrestling. Life is pro wrestling, everything runs parallels. Where I'm surrounded by people that can mentor me, but I feel comfortable in my own skin and they allow me to swing big. And those opponents that I had at those times in wrestling were far superior in ability and wisdom, but they saw something in me and they allowed me to swing big. So I kind of feel like it's 2006 all over again. So when I started giving a damn is when things started to switch.
Thank you.
Yep.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Thank you for checking out this episode of I Did Crazy Flicks presents 90 for Chill, the podcast with Cat Bus Russ. My name is Cat Bus Russ. I am your host, producer, owner of I Did Crazy Flicks, so on and so forth. And to the wrestling aggregate sites, I'm going to try attaching on the social media, until I get the C&D letter from Fan Expo. This is, just call it I Did Crazy Flicks with Cat Bus Russ. We're going through a brand change, etc., etc. So, it's been about 2 days removed for me as I'm recording this Tuesday night from Fan Expo Chicago's conclusion. I should have probably got the Poetic Critic on. We got back Sunday night, of course, and then, I was just pretty much staying at home. My parents waiting for them to get back from their trip from Buffalo. So it was a choice of, napping or bugging my older sister to do a podcast. So I just chose the nap. It was a kind of a rough con for me in the long run. Fan Expo. You got to bring back the water dispensers by each stage, in case somebody's pretty much running solely on Walmart brand cereal bars and alcohol. I know most of your patrons don't do that, but it's kind of it's always kind of or it's become kind of weird for me, I guess, going to conventions in a sense that I got to be doing stuff, and that's in the sense that I want to be promoting the podcast. That's my primary motivation to go to a con now, and it's because you go through. I've been doing a Fan Expo. This would be, I should go all the way back to Wizard World 2015. So this has been 10 years of attending Comic-Cons. And, you get to a point with how much new stuff they really provide you. And I just like to do my best to do that. And I don't think that Fan Expo really gave the fans a lot of opportunity to just go and present themselves. If you weren't doing walk-up cosplay, which happened every day, or how many sketch duels they had, it just kind of felt like, it's... You say it's for the fans, but it kind of feels like it's just, it's gotten more commercial. That's really it. It's like, no, you're going to eat what we give you and enjoy it. And I say that like, no, we have our guests. Why do we need you? So that's what I'm getting at. And, how often can you just walk around a con floor? Eventually, Sunday was just dedicated to, eventually ended up being dedicated to getting Christmas gifts for my nieces and nephews. It's really cool to find out my 4-year-old niece is a Mewtwo fan. Kind of weird. But, and he's not an easily... The Pokemon is not an easily produced... doesn't get a lot of fanfare. So, as a Bulbasaur aficionado, fanboy, dare I say, I get it. So, I really need... I can't wait till my little niece is really talkative. And hope to see her more. It's just a 2-hour drive. I kind of always joke, like... us boys in the family, like, yeah, once kids are involved, we got to put 2 hours away from people. So yeah, I kind of had with the Poetic Critic, she just loves everything about it. So and not overly critical. I give her that. This is her thing, though. Me, I'm just I am. It's kind of like going back to John Cena talking about wrestling. It's kind of like, I'm going... It's tough for me to go to wrestling shows a lot of the time, because that's what I was doing for the better part of my 20s, was, trying to sit in the crowd, just trying to get my tape out, and, rarely hear back from them. And you get the BS pranks, ribs, what have you, and the sexual assault and such. Like, it's a rough affair, but I put up with it because I'm trying to capture something. And when I'm in no position to capture anything, it just kind of wears on me. And then it's just like, now it's just the same old BS. Vendors. And then it was kind of I was kind of disappointed by the lack of vendors, dare I say, or at least the ones I'm interested in. Like, it was great that we had 3 saber groups. Heck, my nephew's going to be happy about that. Quite affordable, the BYO saber group. And I can tell, and you can go and modify it. I don't know if Ryan and Nick, my sister and her husband, listen to this. Help me out, but I don't want them to spoil it for the little guy. And it's also fun, though. Like, nieces and nephews are great, especially at the ages their kids are at. My little brother's kid's only 4, but No, my nephew and niece, John and Charlotte. John is doing it just a natural nerd a little bit, and Charlotte's a really attentive little kid who is I think a little more on the creative side, which kind of surprising. That's my sister's kid. No offense. She's she's very much aware. Maybe it's not creativity, but just aware, and like she like I would go and just drive my sister nuts and my mom nuts. Show her pictures of me at goth nights with my cosplay horns and uniglitter under my eyes, and and just to hear little Charlotte ask her mom, "Hey, can I be a goth kid?" Feels like a W. So I really kind of wish I could get those kids up there at some point. I know it's not Nick and Ryan's thing, but I kind of like, I can be trusted. Before I asked my question, I may have talked about this in the bonus episode. There was a little girl ahead of me in the queue for the John Cena questions who just was freaking out. I'm scared. I don't know what to ask. What if I mess up? And I was like, look, you just say your name, you say your question, and just you go forward with it. You're braver than I wasn't doing this at 10. So, and I think she delivered very well. I have that soundbite. Maybe I'll bring it back on, but that's her thing, and I don't want her to get chased down by WWE or Fan Expo in terms of audio being recorded. But hey, check out my social media. There's going to be plenty of videos sent out. I think they knew everybody is going to go and video record. It's tough not to say tape. Record Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor. They didn't do a group, a panel together. It was Ewan, and then it was Hayden. But in the middle, they obliged the crowd by doing during the transition, grabbing some lightsabers from the audience and doing their swings and getting into their stance. And you know what? We need Obi-Wan Season 2 because Ewan still has it. I mean, Hayden, he's got Ahsoka Season 2. So he's doing good. When it came to... Well, I put up all this stuff, I think, before my last bonus episode from Sunday morning. I recorded it all before I went off to see Galactic Empire. Again, more stuff I need to post online. I mean, their music is awesome. I know it's, just heavy metal covers of John Williams, essentially. And they did a little branching out with their next album coming up. So, breaking out of just doing Star Wars stuff. And I should say, mostly John Williams. Oh, they did the Mandalorian theme, so I know that's not John Williams. But, I had a ball at that show. I ended up buying their entire discography. I bought the first album on vinyl. I probably should have spent the extra $20, which means I didn't buy the Ewan McGregor autograph. And, that just comes down to the fact that $250 and then, 2 hours in a queue. Just, what would I miss? And Saturday was a lot of fun, I would say. Sunday, I really wanted to do a bunch of panels. Michael Rooker was on early. On the guy, since my older sister doesn't drive, who has to pack up everything to head on to the, load the car up, do the checkout procedures, what have you. So, yeah, I got to the con late. And then it's like, well, I saw Sean Gunn in Indiana Comic Convention, which is the only celebrity panel I saw in Indiana. So it's like, am I really gaining anything? So it was really just Sunday was just shopping on the floor, and it's almost to the point where it's like I just don't want to, keep myself out on the floor because I'm going to spend money. I I don't want to do that. Like, I got my bills straight, doing all right, but, it's like, can I get ahead? But, so, just shopping around beforehand, I picked up Allie some embroidered buttons. I can't remember the name of the group. Like, some people need to work on their presentation at their shops, dare I say. But yeah, they're buttons that are embroidered with a bunch of Disney characters. So I got our Pooh, Mickey and Minnie, Donald, and Deadpool. I mean, same universe, right? So that just leads me to be disappointed that Disney Infinity is no longer a thing, because I was getting into that, especially I really couldn't wait for the third. And yeah, I don't play enough video games despite how many I own, but it's like, oh, Star Wars, and now, give it another 5 years, Deadpool would have been included. So yeah, that would have probably screwed up everything in the best ways possible. So didn't do any cosplay for Sunday. I mean, Sunday's my day, dare I say. So, Cubby Pool was tough just because of the mask. And Captain N, it's hot to wear a varsity jacket. I'm doing my parents a solid by, next time I visit and drop off my laundry, I'm doing my parents a solid by not including the soaked Deadpool shirt. The Cubs jersey's hanging out pretty well, but that was the result of all my foam battling. 45 minutes. I still got it. I should have, I get the adrenaline going. If I'm not, don't tell me to stop. Boom. I'm gold in the wrestling ring still. So, Bizarro Wrestling, I'm going to have to try starting something with the Indiana group that was performing all throughout Indiana Comic Convention. I know, the Cajuns got something down at NOLA Fan Expo. And it's kind of nice that they brought the wrestling back to Fan Expo Chicago. I know that was a big thing at Chicago Comic-Con before it was Wizard World. You hear stories of Punk and Cabana talking about just like, well, we get to go to the show for free if we're wrestling. So, there you go. Another way to get my free tickets, dare I say. But hey, I just got John Cena news. So, maybe I should just go for the press passes. And, really, I do need to get a table at some point, because I think I Did Crazy Flicks, the brand, works a lot better than the podcast in a sense. The brand is not overly creative, I will say that. And, is it really working as well as I think? Because my Circle bottle that I left somewhere on Friday night did not show up at a Lost and Found, so I don't know what the deal was there. Because it's like, dude, it's a perfectly fine bottle. What, you gonna just throw it in the trash and be an asshole? Especially when you have the contact information, at least a website to go to say, hey, you left this. So, yeah, I really wish. So it's kind of frustrating that with Sunday and not doing a lot of panels. I don't really think I have that much content to talk about, so everything was given away in the bonus episodes. I'm tempted to go and say, well, you know what, I'll just tack them onto the back of this podcast in case you missed them, and the numbers look all right, so that's not necessarily the case. But, do you really want to hear too much more about my shopping, I guess? And, by Sunday is also a tough day at cons because you got vendors just wanting to load up and get the hell out of there. And they're a lot more, poking at you for cash instead of credit. There was a place where, going back to my little niece and her digging my goth looks, there was a place that was selling Oni horns. Sorry I didn't get the I can't recall the name, but hey, you got the $25. And it's they put down right there, cash is preferred. You're like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna, at that point of the day, yeah, I'll take care of you. Then I bought my first, finally went and took the plunge on buying spooky contacts, dare I say. I'm getting my card out and the guy says, oh, you want to pay cash? That's faster or cheap, no tax. Dude, you don't. He just wanted to get the hell out of there, though. By that point, he was doing the inventory. It's like, dude, you got 90 minutes, man. And yeah, I know. Yeah, they all just want to get the hell out of there by that point. But his accent kind of sounded local, so, yeah. And, I did buy my nephew a saber. What I do kind of regret not doing was being a little more open to Artist Alley. I'm not saying I found a lot of stuff that interested me, or maybe I was thrown off because of, what size are you guys doing your prints in? 11 by 17? Okay, that justifies $20. But, it goes from 8, it's, sizes of prints. I was going through my autograph and print book. I'm trying to figure out where the hell my Balls Mahoney autograph is. May he rest in peace. That's 8:11, but some of the pictures from there are even smaller than 8 by 11. They're not 10. Maybe 7 by 10s. What? It's weird. Like, pick a side. Now, there was a group vendor who was selling pictures with cats, which, cats drawn like Catzilla in different locations, different variations, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, prints are $25. No, we don't have a shop. We only sell here. It's like, yeah, no. That's, I can be fairly good with watercolor, so I'm, sorry, not sorry. But, look up Catzilla on Instagram, and at least you're going to get some good art from that. Overpriced? Yeah. Well, if you can find them. It was fun, though, really getting it was a little more cozy. There was Geek Punk something. Sorry. I got so many things just sitting around my desk, and it's like, and I say desk, it's just a table, but shoot. Well, you know what? That's a good place for me to just take a pause, take a moment, and try to locate their stuff. I can tell you they're based out of St. Louis, and I saw them at Fan Expo NOLA, so let me go and pull that stuff up, and I hope you enjoy this movie review for Red Lips. Sorry that I can't find a trailer anywhere, and I have it on Blu-ray, so my DVD drive for the computer will not play. I can't get you some content to give you a vibe of what it is. But hey, hope you enjoy.
And now, a feature presentation. Oh, very well. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Get ourselves some snacks.
So I am officially ready for the next Vinegar Syndrome sale. I just concluded watching Red Lips from 1995 by director Donald Farmer, and this is an interesting year for him. Red Lips was a film shot on video, low-grade video at that, for $5,000. In the same year, he directed a movie with Bridget Nielsen for $250,000. This guy works with everything. He's currently doing a lot of mockbusters and still sex horror films, and I would say his career's probably surpassed 50 years as a Roger Corman wannabe, dare I say. I only say that because there is an interview on this disc where it's just him probably talking into a cell phone, discussing the movie in a mini mall with a Jack Daniels ball cap on. Yeah, I guess that kind of sets the tone for the film. The film is about a desperate lesbian in New York City desperate as in broke, who is just not cutting it giving blood since you have to wait 6 weeks to earn $15 for your efforts. It's a lot better now, but that's inflation, so probably not. I digress. But a doctor at the clinic decides to offer her $100 a day to test this new vaccine, which this doctor claims will add 20, 30, dare she say 50 years on life expectancy. Not that Carolyn cares about that, but money is money. And soon after, she starts feeling sick, cuts her knee on some glass when she faints, tastes the blood from the wound, and suddenly feels better. It's the story of a desperate woman turned into a vampire. Dare I say, this could have been a mockbuster on The Addiction, the Lily Taylor, Christopher Walken movie from the same year about vampirism and how it might be more of an addiction than it is a disease. Well, no, I'm sorry. Addiction is disease, but a curse, I should say. Perchance vampires enjoy the blood sucking. All depends on your lore, what have you. Interesting Screen Drafts episode I listened to this week, which was the a ranking of all 10 Catherine Bigelow films. And Near Blood was number 2, and I should watch Strange Days if I get on this 95 panel again, so at ATL Comic Convention. But I digress. That's where I'm at. So it's shot on very low-grade video. I don't mind the soundtrack. It is what they could get. And you have to appreciate a protagonist who is pretty much her only wardrobe is a catsuit and a t-shirt for the L7 album Smell the Magic. So there's a lot of charm to this feature. I believe Jessica Ritchie, per my older sister, the Poetic Critic, thought about suggesting this for B-Fest. I think maybe it's a little too much when you open with a softcore lesbian scene. I kind of wonder what this scene just offers so much potential because it ends with the classic lesbian vampire joke. See you in another 30 days. It's her tale. She finds a jilted lover played by former Penthouse pet Michelle Bauer. All right, there we go. She eventually runs into her who's left which was a really pointless sequence of a bathing 50-year-old Russ Myers actress just for a breakup scene. Yeah. So there's a lot of distasteful moments there, I say, but a lot of intriguing things about this feature. It's definitely the acting at some points is, my God, this is beneath community theater. This is, dare I say, what I saw my students at Morton High School do for homeroom announcements type stuff. So it's very silly at points. As I say, it's just a very charming feature, the low budget and the desperate means of trying to move the story along. It's more of a, not a test of endurance, because it's not painful. It's just like, whoa, we're going to do this. Okay, interesting. You're just here for the ride. It's got a very anticlimactic ending, but then again, it's shot guerrilla style at most points, so it's fun. Like, okay, so we know they don't permit, so everybody walking around is probably wondering why our lead actress, if I didn't mention her name already, Getty Chasm, is shouting Lisa with her face covered in blood. So it's just silly, but there's just, you can't hate it, I guess, is what this feature comes down to. As I say, the opening sequence I think is a little too much for B-Fest, but then I can't imagine, I can only imagine the pop it would get. I would say if you're interested in low-budget horror, this is definitely worth a watch, and I can appreciate everything that was done with this feature, in hopes that I can make someday a low-budget movie just like this. And, it's still got a lot of sex appeal. I will give it that. Again, when it comes to Vinegar Syndrome films, buy them, and you'll probably make most of your money back. So, in the end, it ends up being a rental anyhow, because you'll make your money back when you sell it to a reseller. At least that's what the market is now.
If we could somehow harness this lightning, channel it into the flux capacitor, it just might work. We're sending you back to the future.
And I hope my friend, the real 7Cs from the No on 15 All cast, isn't too upset that I pulled the Back to the Future clip they like to use on their podcast. Great show. I mean, it's kind of difficult because they do little weird seasons, so if you're not into a certain genre, a lot of the stuff you're just not going to kind of relate to. They do stuff that, everybody on the podcast is going to at least seem appreciative of. So, I'm always check in on them on Fridays. Sometimes I just don't, feel like I don't want something spoiled if I haven't seen it. So that's the kind of podcast they are, but they're very cool guys. At least Real 7Cs is. And, listen to them. They drop episodes on Fridays. Chicagoland as well. So not my hometown, I get it, but I still have quite the connection, I feel. Or at least I have enough tattoos. I mean, I've got at least 8 Chicago stars tattooed on me. Double the love as most Chicagoans, dare I say. Alright. So, I was kind of thinking, have I just gone on and on about, my downsides to Fan Expo Chicago? Because, if you've never been to a Fan Expo, go. That's what I'm going to tell you. It's kind of like the idea. I'm not saying you're going to want to go every year. I mean, it's going to be celebrity based. Like Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen. Well, Ewan McGregor for me. Keith David especially. I've missed you twice in 2 months, man. Come on. If I am not getting Kite Man Hell Yeah Season 2, I am going to be pissed. Alright. I digress. But, I did go... Well, let me just go back. So, I did see my parents briefly when they finally got back from their trip to Buffalo, New York, to see my my extended family. And, my mom, tired, went right to, no, I am not going to disturb her. Dad was definitely a little on the tired side. Give the old man credit. He's got, he's to the point where he's a Bill Schwarzkopf's super fan. Was it Bill Schwarzkopf's? I think it was Chuck Schwarzkopf's super fans. Dad Bears on Saturday Night Live, and Bill, the lore of it. Schwarzkopf. There we go. So he had a minimal health scare, dare I say. Nothing an aspirin couldn't solve. An aspirin ended up solving it, but yeah, if you can get the hints. But he's to the point where they're just going to be a thing he's going to have to deal with. So at 77 years old, he's doing great as far as I can tell. So, but Rory, he asked Rory and I what we thought, and Rory, the poetic critic, and she was like, "Oh, it was great. And it's like, well, and I'm sorry that I'm a critic. Dare I say, definitely cynical. We're not going to question that. And I think when you go back to the question I asked Mr. Cena, I am not Mr. Right, sadly. I am Mr. You're not wrong, but... So, ladies, if you can outshine me, and I don't know, I guess the one lady who did, there may have been a couple, but not in touch with them. Hopefully their political career is still on the table. Steph. Okay, so I'm just saying, well, geez, they could have done this for the fans. They could have done that for the fans. And I'm sorry, I think I heard a little bit of bumping noise. That could be the neighbors. But during the first portion of this podcast, it could just be me being animated with my hands. I just got to learn. I got to go and soundproof a closet, dare I say. Oh, ladies, I can find a great use for a closet. So, I don't know. Sorry to throw that myself out there, dare I say. Just gonna say it though. That's kind of the thing. 2015 was my first fan expo, first Wizard World, Chicago, and then I moved to Champaign from Peoria and met my girlfriend at the time, Allie Higgins of Allie's Accessory Shop on Etsy's. Get that back online. I can go embrace it, incorporate it into the I Did Crazy Flicks brand. But that brings me back to those patches I found from a Geek Punk store. They're based out of St. Louis. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like I'm going to be on GalaxyCon Des Moines, but there might be a chance I make it to St. Louis. I don't know what their bloody deal is. Yeah, I'm calling you out. I'm a podcaster. I'm supposed to be, what would Joe Rogan say? Attitude. I'm sorry. I believe in science. You can, this podcast, I guess I should just put Ava the Queen Kitty for the next logo image ahead of on this podcast, we believe in science, love is love, etc., etc. But no, I'll get back to it. So, to the Geek Punk store. There we go. Saw them at Fan Expo NOLA, and I think they just had they had a more inviting display. I will say that. Come inside. And instead of here's our political patches and t-shirts, love cats, hate Trump. Yes, I bought the patch. You got to expand the colors. Look, I'm sorry. I know black is so easy, but I have so much black. Okay. So I ended up buying 5 patches from them, and I think they were all very cool. I thought about stickers. That'll be the next investment if I make it to GalaxyCon St. Louis. All right. Sorry, I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter. I'm a contrarian. So Rory said her parts about it was great. I got to do this. I got to do that. And it's for me, it's I'm just, I want to talk with nerds. I want to, well, why didn't you go to Doctor Who? Because I don't watch Doctor Who. It's, hell, Fan Expo finally got rid of those Star Wars guys. And I mean Star Wars guys as in real stupid trivia and then always ending their group with a sing-along of Bill Murray on Saturday Night Live's crooner doing Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars. Okay. And, my dad said, well, do you not want to go next year? And, I had to stop and pause. If I'm not a guest, a panelist, I mean, so, my parents... very supportive. My mom gave me the grill, do you realize this, Bill? And I'm yeah. Well, you seem happier, and your dad thinks it's good for you. All right, so, yeah. So it's, but really, it's kind of again, if I see it and I don't see anybody I really want to go and jump in front of take a bullet for. Not in the chest, shoulder. I'll risk the leg. Come on, the femoral can't be that big. Yeah, I really gotta be a little more selective. Putting myself in the position to spend. I probably spent $300, and I've spent a lot more at these cons. I still regret that I don't give the little grandpa retro gamer system I have enough playtime. Yes, on top of the Switch to the PlayStation 5. And we can go further back generation-wise. All right. I mean, I love doing this for taking my older sister up there. I know my dad. I mean, for him, Shatner's already. I mean, he's still doing cons. Good for him. But I mean, if I think the last person he said he really went and saw a panel for, because he will go up and drive my sister up there, but just stay in the hotel room the entire weekend. And last time he saw it, something I think may have been Shatner, but I think it really went most memorable though was he was ahead of the panel game than I was back in 2015, 2016. Oh no, I saw. Oh shoot, what is his name? Dang it. Why is it slipping my mind? I've only had one cocktail. Yes, I pour heavy. But, no, he's the... Gosh darn it. Come on. Cannonball Run. Burt Reynolds. There we go. Sorry, I see so much great stuff of him and... just being Burt. Loving being Burt. It's kind of frustrating. He's a treasure. And that my dad got to see him. And yeah, he wasn't really positive about his health. He's had at least probably 12 years on my dad. So, yeah, I had to, I really don't want to poo-poo on Fan Expo. I'm just somebody who's been to a lot of Fan Expos who doesn't want to end up, it's great when I'm invited to conventions. It's like, I save $120 on a ticket, but I don't. Maybe I'm just very bad with temptation. You can ask pretty much. I don't think the dancers at Big Owl's back in its day, may it rest in peace, sadly. Screw you, Peoria. You had a national treasure. I'm sorry you didn't want to go back to the old days and have a cop car stationed. Well, I don't know. That's just BS. Like, Peoria's great growing up before we had that stupid Marriott courtyard, which was supposed to clean up the town. That looks like the most dangerous part of town. Like, you got a bright hotel and then you got dark bars. If there are bars. You still got hoops, so not all bad. But, it was a great place to just party. You had the cops in the alley between the library parking lot and the Madison Theater, just ready to jump on anything that happens. And you aren't spending, the city's not spending the time on kind of prepping for the bullshit that drunks get into. That's on the city. It's not on Al. Whoever owned it then, I don't know. Hey, let's get this Patreon going, and maybe I can save Peoria. All right. So yeah, I'm not trying to poo-poo on Fan Expo. I'm just saying, it's sadly it's gone. 10 years. How many Back to the Future panels have happened since then? All right, that's what I'm putting it at. And you can say, well, some of them were Wizard World. Yeah, I get that. But, I've seen it. And, it might just be, it's, I just want something new. I want to get involved. All right, there we go. So, I will go real quickly to the patches I got from, the Geek Punk store out of St. Louis. Hopefully I'll see them in October. Come on, GalaxyCon, you're up against New York Comic Con that weekend. I got my Love Cats Hate Trump, Racist Lives Don't Matter, FCKNZ's, yeah, that's why I like the English with their Zs. FCKNZS, Punk is not conservative, transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic, fascist, racist, sexist, and of course, Free Palestine. So, hey, I'll give him that. I need to go and start working on some more punk rock attire. I've got so many things I buy to do that, and just never get around to it. Not to say I have the time between 2 jobs and the podcast, but I gotta make the time. I really just need to find a girl with a job that can help me afford a $1,000 apartment. Like, hey, $500 extra a month. Oh gosh, I would be set. Okay, so I go on about all this. I talked about the Alien Groot panel. I talked about the voice panel. I talked about effing birds. Sorry, and I'm sorry that I missaid your name on the previous bonus episode of I Did Crazy Flicks. Aaron Reynolds, not Darren. I don't know. Then again, you were wearing a White Sox jersey, so it was fun talking to you about the Argonauts. So good guy. Shocking Dark. That still hurt. I just don't want to remember that movie. And Brad Jones can go and bugger off for saying, "Oh, if you liked my Rats review, you have to watch Shocking Dark." Terminator 2 Italian now. So I only did one other panel. On Sunday, and that was the Ewan and Hayden Jedi double feature. And you know what? It was worth it. The $50 for getting a Ewan just opened the panel with "Hello there." So yeah. So I kind of wish if you were just gonna say, "Hey, we're gonna do 2 half panels," I kind of feel a little I don't know. I kind of want an interaction. I'd want all Ewan or I'd want all Hayden, but they were both very cool guys. And it's great hearing Ewan McGregor talking about how he was thinking if he'd get back in the Star Wars universe, he'd be the Disney Plus savior, and then, well, what are you doing with the Mandalorian? He was sad he couldn't be on Andor since that concluded, and they can't find a spot for Obi-Wan in there. And you get a lot of lightsaber injury stories, like bending lightsabers because of how hard they went at it, Ewan and Hayden, and because they're just metal rods, essentially, so, bashing them into question marks. And then you had, of course, stories of lightsaber injuries, like, George Lucas, why didn't you build hilts onto the lightsabers? So, you couldn't wrap your knuckles. You have to play Butch until you hear the word cut. Injuries to Nash Edgerton, Joel Edgerton's brother. He was Ewan McGregor's stunt double, and stories about slipping, fighting Jango Fett, busting his teeth, and while his mother was on set. Fun stories about holding your breath for underwater sequences, and what kind of twat is that? No, Ewan did not use any of the classics, British Isles curses, but 6 seconds and we gotta go and do another take. And he had that classic Mark Hamill moment that you hear on podcasts and interviews, where Mark Hamill says, getting out of the trash compactor, why am I all dry? Shouldn't my hair be this and that? And Harrison Ford going and saying, kid, this is not that kind of movie. And Ian McGregor was talking about seeing the polyphene submarine they used in Phantom Menace to go through the planet's core, and so is this gonna go underwater? Is this gonna work? And George Lucas said, this isn't real. he does regret not getting to actually work with Carrie Fisher, because I guess they did develop a friendship after the prequels. And it's fun hearing Carrie Fisher stories, because I think Kevin Smith said that when he was doing Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Carrie Fisher has her cameo, it's Carrie's like, I didn't want to really talk about Star Wars, while Mark Hamill is Cockknocker, just, hey, open to everything. So it's interesting to see that people in the Star Wars universe can get, be still friendly with Carrie. Another cute thing is that Ewan McGregor, had the crowd kept on mentioning names for the people he couldn't think of, and he said, well, that's what Mary's for. And, and he gets called out for not knowing what happened on the Clone Wars TV series. Like, why do I look like a Mandalorian at this toy? And it's the Clone Wars. Yeah, because Square stuff is easier to put on a computer. And going from there, he got asked some rapid fire questions. And he would basically say Force, being attuned with the Force and lightsaber usage are the same thing. Obi-Wan is a dog person. I just don't see that. And when asked, are you going to be with the rebellion or join the Empire? And it's like, or fight for Victor Danage. He calls himself the hardest working man in comics, and it's like, dude, I only saw you on this panel. No offense, like the DJ from Cleveland was doing more. I think Claire from Scotland was doing a lot more. But basically, like, fight for the Rebel Alliance or fight for the Empire. Fight the Empire. He's like Victor Dan said he said fight the Empire, which, like, aren't they the same thing? Oh, fight for the Empire. And like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ewan McGregor basically said that he is the rebellion. So it was fun, and then you get that lightsaber standoff between Ewan and Hayden. Of course, they had their own little escorts of people in Star Wars gear, and Hayden Christensen was just glad to be in Chicago to take his kid out to Wrigley Field, 10-year-old, and of course he wore jersey 66. And telling how he got into Star Wars, because Ewan McGregor, he would have been 2 or 4 when A New Hope came out, while I don't know if his Obi-2 Kenobi is his older brother, but basically Hayden Christensen talked about having a brother who was old enough to watch Star Wars, kind of letting him watch it with him, that kind of experience. So, I guess I tried that with my little brother, and I don't know, minimal. He was into fads a little more. Like by the time Star Wars came out, I think he was just trying to get through junior high at Bethel Lutheran School, and it's like he was going to be a rebel in high school, and not part of the Alliance, just a rebel. So, but it was like he was still trying to, like, I still had an influence on him, and I tried to be a great brother to him. And once he got to high school, we kind of, we had to share a room until my little sister moved out. Why my 2 sisters got their own bedrooms, I don't know. And but I'm just saying, like, I did my best for my little brother and I think there was a lot of pressure because I am very much into my fandoms, and I think that may have helped him get into his music, be obsessed with his music pursuits. I mean, he I kind of wish, I kind of thought he was going to kill Primus for me, because these guys are cool. Not to say that he needed me to help find Primus, but it's like, I love Primus. I don't need the bass from the next room, ruining my night's sleep, dare I say. But as I say, it's kind of a lot to, big brother trying to pass stuff on, and I'm very fanatical, so I'm going to bust my ass to respect Star Wars. I'm going to anime my pro wrestling career, and it goes back to who I am now, and frustrated about the fan expo and the lack of opportunity. Hey, it's great that Hayden had a brother to, get him into that, and he was an actor, so he got the role that his brother would have wanted. So, if only I could have made my little brother proud. So, so he did throw out the first pitch at Wrigley Field. Like, he said he got it over the plate. It's kind of like, well, do I want to watch this to see if he threw it from the mound? Because that's not impressive to throw it over the plate if you're, just at the base. My opinion. And of course he said he was proud of wearing jersey number 66. So, yeah, I at least love that he's really embraced this. If he couldn't be Darth Vader, he'd be Boba Fett. And it's great to have, going into Ahsoka and Obi-Wan Kenobi, it was great to have 20 years to study how the Anakin would become Vader. And I think that, I went to a Revenge of the Sith panel at Indiana Comic-Con, and one of the panelists was just like, no. One, the sequel series sucks, and two, I don't think the TV shows are any good. It's like, oh, come on. It answers, wait for season 2. It'll fix it. It kind of makes me think, do I put out this Revenge of the Sith panel I was on at ATL Comic Convention after this? And, I'm a little nervous about putting that one out just because it was Brian Young, great guy. He was part of the Last Jedi panel. I did post that as a podcast on May 4th. Be with you. But he was with more of his co-workers, dare I say, his fellow podcaster. And it's like, yeah, I'm definitely the outsider in that one instead of just having a bunch of Star Wars nerds on a panel. So I kind of felt a little awkward trying to relate, talking, joking about my dad, my dad's first heart attack, similar to, your kid going through severe burns, but still coming out with a sense of humor. Brian, you're a great parent. That much I will say. 35 millimeter, I still prefer over digital. There we go. So yeah, I'm just going through my notes because I know I had to have something. And, it being Darth Vader allowed him to take on darker roles, just even being drawn to them. So, and again, Anakin is a dog person just because Hayden's allergic to cats. Dude, Darth Vader took so many bloody shots getting rebuilt. You could take the allergy one. My opinion. There we go. So, yeah. So that was the basically a summation of the Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor Jedi double feature panel that closed out Fan Expo. And hey, I'll give Fan Expo credit for that. That is how you end a show, and I can't blame you for the $50 fee on that one. $25 a Jedi. Hey, that's cheaper than John Cena. So, otherwise, by that point though, I was trying to finish off my rum, and then pretty much just drinking out of a freaking Dasani bottle. And, I was having fun with the people I sat around, making my snide little remarks. Like, again, I'm not Mr. Right, I'm Mr. You're not wrong. And by the end, though, I was just, I cleared out all my badges. I should say buttons representing I Did Crazy Flicks. And, of course, they're from all over the place. I had gone through the original Chicago Fan Expo Chicago 2024 batch. That was, I think I ordered a smaller batch at that point. I can't remember how Sticker Mule does it. And look, I have a good relationship with Sticker Mule, but there are other places to go that don't support Donald Trump. So I would tell you to do that. I just can tell you Sticker Mule is reliable despite their politics. So, I guess it's just tells me go and make some FCK Trump buttons as a theme for wherever I'm going next, dare I say. So, hey, thank you for letting me work that one out. But the point of the matter is the rum just made me like, yeah, I gotta give it out. Gotta give it out. And like, you did crazy movies, you wear the button. If you like to listen to the podcast, great. So, yeah, I think it ended up being very worthwhile my Sunday. And, the only disappointing thing is that I tried to take my older sister to Hooters and Joliet, and they had to wait, and I know she's not up for that. So if that's the worst thing that actually happened on Sunday, I think I did all right. So thank you very much, Fan Expo, for coming back to Chicago. Keep trying to book Keith David is what I will tell you, and I might come on my own fruition. So I guess that'll be the podcast for this week. Thank you again for checking it out, giving it a listen. Thank you for my Patreon subscribers. That's Tim Bates. You can find him on episodes for Arena from 1989, Bloodsport in Space, I like to say it, and the horror comedy from 1988, Night of the Demons. They're both on this feed. And former AAW backstage interviewer, The Scoop Staley. And maybe I channeled him when I asked John Cena that question. I don't know. But if you want to help the podcast out through Patreon, I'm only looking for $3 a month. And that might not help the podcast out much, but it's going to give Ava the Queen Kitty 3 tins of cat food. And you just have to respect royalty. In return, you get those shout-outs like I did for Tim and Scoop. As long as you're subscribed, you'll get yourself a waterproof sticker, which is probably why that circle bottle was thrown away, just because I can't get this off. And you get access to the original Podbean feed of 90forchill.com, the podcast, so you can see how I've developed into a competent, or mostly competent, podcaster. That's patreon.com/IDigCrazyFlicks. Another way to support the podcast, obviously, is to rate and subscribe on your favorite podcast apps. 5 stars preferably. Just be as bloody honest as you want in the comments, because I think I have learned from every bit of criticism I've received. And, the more the merrier, dare I say. Let's make this a perfect show. It's nuts to strive for perfection, but, if you're not striving to be the best, you're striving for mediocrity, my opinion. And, but if you want to make sure this is not a mediocre podcast, come on and be a guest on the show. If you have a movie, a director, a theme, an actor, and their work is off the wall, kind of bonkers stuff, I will happily talk to you about it no matter how long it is. But, if you want to talk a little more, I'd say early Wes Anderson, but that's really not the case. But, dare I say, I have not seen the Before Sunrise trilogy. So if you want to talk about that, those are pretty brief movies, under 100 minutes. I'll happily talk about that. So, and when I say under 100 minutes, once the credits start rolling, the movie's over. Sorry to disrespect all the hard work, but, if I'm watching it on cable, you're getting screwed even worse. So, so you can send an email to russthebus07@gmail.com. That's RUSSTHEBUS07@gmail.com with those suggestions, especially coming up. I'm trying to figure out the schedule right now, but October is spooky month, and I want to talk horror movies, so I need at least 2 guests for that. 2 movies from you. So thank you very much for taking the time to think about that. Otherwise, my only other formality is I need to thank my best friend, Station Marie Harden, for keeping an eye on me, keeping me out of the bad kind of trouble. I wouldn't mind a little more nudge into the good stuff, but hey, I hope you're doing the same for everybody else you're touching in your life, so don't focus on me too much. Just focus on squeezing the ectoplasm out of the most jellicle of Cat Skimbleshank, the one-eared angel. Oh, what a fluffy, talkative little guy he was. So, I think I've gotten everything I need to say about Fan Expo. I think I've gotten all my formalities out of the way. So, thank you once again for checking out I Did Crazy Flicks with Cat Bus Russ. And I hope you have yourselves a great week. And until the next episode, take care.
Can I hear a wahoo?
This podcast was made possible by the love and support of Dave and Cindy Stevens, Rory Stevens and Allison Higgins, Danny Daniels, and Stephanie Smith.
Long live Flash! You've saved your Earth. Have a nice day.